Hey everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you some beginner tips when transitioning to veganism. If you still don't know what veganism is, be sure to check out this video here where I outline what veganism is and I also talk about my vegan story. As you know from that video, I've only been vegan for about a year. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to give you guys some vegan tips for beginners since I am still a beginner myself. I think it's a little bit more relatable for me to give you beginner vegan tips than it would be for someone who's been vegan for 5 or 10 or more years, just because it's been a long time since they were beginners themselves. Since I'm kind of still in the same shoes as you as a new vegan, I think it helps that I'm still learning as I go and I can just give you all the tips that I've learned so far and tips that I'm still learning today. I'm going to give you some of my favorite tools, resources, some of my favorite recipes, some of my favorite bloggers, and other stuff like that that will help you along your journey. If you're still on the fence about veganism, you can check out this video here outlining all the different ways that you should go vegan that do not include for the animals. I also talk about in that video why I personally did not go vegan for the animals, and maybe you're in the same position as me. And if that video still is not enough for you, be sure to check out my other video from Veganuary. I will link it down below, outlining the pros and cons about veganism. And spoiler alert, there really aren't any cons. So the first tip that I have is to just be easy on yourself and realize that veganism is a journey. No one is perfectly vegan right away. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. For example, if you watch my veganism story video, you will know that there were a lot of foods for me along my journey that I did not know were vegan until pretty late in the game. Even sugar, I will admit, just last week I checked to see if the brand I buy is actually vegan, and thank goodness that it is, or I would have felt really bad. It's just been such a learning process for me, as I'm sure it will be for you too. For me, I had to undo 20 years of habit, and you might be in a similar boat as me. So if you're trying to undo 20 or more years of habit, just be easy on yourself. It's a journey that will take time to polish and get right. Again, there's no right or wrong when it comes to veganism. My second tip is to do your research. What I mean was, like I said, there was a lot of things I didn't know were not vegan going into veganism. I just thought it was the basic meat, dairy, and eggs, and I didn't know there was a whole list of other things that were animal derived as well. So I really regret not doing more research in the beginning. So I suggest researching what veganism actually is before you dive on in. Make sure you know what things are and are not vegan so you don't get in the same situation that I was in. And hopefully this will help you avoid some mistakes and guilt along the way. The third tip I have is to read ingredient labels right away. Like I mentioned before, I was absolutely terrible about reading ingredient labels, and I still am sometimes. I am definitely getting better. But I think for me, forming that habit right away would have really helped me avoid a lot of mistakes and spend extra money on things that I can't even eat. So if you keep this in mind and start doing this right away, it'll be a lot easier for you to make this good happen. The next tip kind of goes along with that is to just be aware of added milk products. It can be kind of sneaky with some of the ways that they include it, like milk fat, milk powder. Some things don't even straight up say milk. A lot of times though, the allergy section will say contains milk derived ingredients, but sometimes it doesn't. So just be aware what actually is milk and what's not. So when you're buying snacks and stuff like that, you can be aware of what you can and cannot buy. I see it most of the time in processed like shelf food. A lot of things like cereals and granola bars and chips and stuff like that. There's a lot of the ones that contain hidden milk ingredients. The next tip I have is to just not be afraid of judgment. I will admit this is very hard and I fell victim to this in the beginning, but it is just so freeing when you let that fear go. I was so afraid to go into the office and potlucks and parties and stuff like that and tell people I was vegan, and I would just sit there and like eat chips and salad and whatever, the very few options I had, when in reality people would probably accommodate me had I told them. I even hated posting about it on social media at first and telling my friends and family. It just felt so awkward, especially from the community that I grew up in. It was just really out of place for people to be vegan, and I felt a lot of shame, I guess. But mostly I was just afraid of the judgment and people criticizing me for it. But eventually I guess I just got comfortable enough along my journey and I started to be more open about it on social media, out and about with my friends and family. This confidence also helps when you're going out to eat and you need to explain to your waiter or waitress what your dietary restrictions are. Going along with that, something else I've learned is that generally people don't care. For the most part, people will not judge and criticize you. They will just continue to mind their own business, and a lot of the times people will actually be very kind and they will try to accommodate you and learn more. Of course, do keep in mind there will be that person who does judge and criticize you, but from my experience, it's actually very rare to come across these people. Something else I've learned is that you will be very surprised at what your local store has. I talk a little bit more about how where I live is a bit of a hindrance to me in my vegan story video, but basically when I first went vegan, I did not think I was going to be able to find any options here. We live in a very, very weird spot in the world, but I was really pleasantly surprised to see our on-base grocery store have basically all the vegan switches we need. Stuff like vegan butter and vegan yogurt and vegan meat options. Even off-base, I have found stuff like soy yogurt and almond milk. So this tip is basically you don't need a fancy store like a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's or a bulk store to go vegan. All you have to do is kind of explore your store, read labels, ask around, ask the workers, ask local vegans in your area. Just ask for help looking around the store, where to shop, and it can actually be quite simple. I eat vegan shopping at an on-base commissary, and I think it would be just as easy, if not easier, to do it at even a Walmart or a store like that. I don't know what other grocery stores are there. But it's kind of like this story I've heard, like you don't realize how many people wear glasses until you have glasses yourself. Just like you don't realize how much vegan food is in your store until you actually go vegan and you have to look for that stuff. So just keep your eyes peeled, ask around, and don't forget to read ingredient labels. I think this next tip is the biggest tip, and that is to just push through the first couple weeks. Now, it might be different if you're switching from vegetarian to vegan, but if you're switching from a complete omnivore diet to veganism, and you quit cold turkey like I did, you really will just have to have that mindset to push through the first couple of weeks. It really will be a challenge mentally, I think, because switching from eating animal foods to plant-based only overnight is really hard on your body. Your body's going to be missing all of that flesh. Ugh. Like literally thinking about that now just disgusts me. It is just so different for your body to process and digest plant foods versus animal derived products. So give your body some slack, give it some time, because you might feel hungry, you might have to snack, you might have to eat bigger portions, you might get a stomach ache from the excess fiber. But it took me about 2 weeks for my body to adjust. My body finally learned to cope with that amount of fiber, and it learned the new portion sizes, the new calories. Side note, this was something I used to count calories actually for switching to plant-based, and it was just, I wasn't like trying to lose weight or anything, I was just trying not to overeat. And I was also like watching my macros, and that was something extremely hard to do when I switched to plant-based, so I just quit, and that has just been so freeing. I quit, like I said, mostly because of the macros, and you get a lot more carbs as a vegan, but they're good carbs. You get your carbs from fruits and vegetables and not necessarily from like breads and stuff. That's the bad kind of carbs. Not that they're bad, but like if you eat too much of them, it's not good. Yeah, it's just so freeing to know that you can eat almost as much fruits and vegetables as you want and not have to worry about counting calories. I talked about this a little bit in my pro and con video, but it's really interesting to see how your taste buds change. This was something else I learned, is not only will your stomach and the rest of your body change, but so will your taste buds. I used to crave meat, as I'm sure most of you did if you were eating an omnivore diet, but now I literally crave like salad and roasted vegetables and chickpeas. Those are all my favorite foods right now. It's just amazing to see what our body can do and how it adjusts when we feed it the nutrients that it needs. The next category that I will cover is resources that have helped me and resources that I think will help you in your veganism journey. So one of my favorite apps is Happy Cow. This app is great for all vegans and vegetarians, no matter where you are in your journey or where you're located in the world. It can be great for your hometown if you're new to veganism and you don't know any restaurants that you can try. And it has been an absolute lifesaver for when we travel. I've used it here in Okinawa. I've also used it in mainland and in Thailand when we went to those places, and I plan on using it when I go back to the States as well. So what it is it's a food app. You can search vegan and vegetarian restaurants, shops, grocery stores, food trucks, bakeries, other dessert places, and so much more. I think of it as Google Maps for vegans and vegetarians. Another app I love is Vegan Scan, and this is a great app for me because, like I've said, I'm terrible about reading ingredient labels. Granted, a lot of the products aren't uploaded into the database, but it can be great when you're at the store and you either don't want to spend time looking at the labels, it's in a language you can't read, or you're just double checking to make sure that it doesn't have any animal derived products in it. So yeah, that's it. That's all that the app does, is it scans food and lets you know if it's vegan or not. So this can be very helpful for those products that say may contain milk. I think I'm planning on doing a whole nother video about that topic, but basically just to keep it short, they put that on there for allergy reasons because some people are definitely allergic to milk, and the facility might produce stuff that does contain milk in it, but that product itself does not contain milk. But just to be sure, it is safe to use this app, or even contact the company if you want to be sure that it's vegan. This app has come extremely in handy for me living in Japan since I cannot read ingredient labels. It really helps me to determine what snacks are vegan and which ones are not. A great resource that can be used as an app on your phone or on your computer is Pinterest. And this is a great platform whether you're new to vegan or not, but especially if you're new, for finding recipes. When you're first starting out in veganism and you don't know what to cook or even how to cook vegan food, it can be really great for you to find recipes, find inspiration, and even find tutorials and help you learn how to cook. I found all of my first and staple vegan recipes there, and I still use it to this day, but for the most part, I've gotten pretty good about experimenting with my food and kind of making up my own recipes. I think it's especially great for baking because vegan baking can get kind of tricky with all the science behind it, so if you're looking for vegan substitutes, Pinterest is a great place to go. It's also a great place if you're looking to cook for a crowd, say for New Year's or Thanksgiving or something. And I've even found resources for like vegan brands for clothing and other things of that nature. Some other resources, but things I'm not really going to talk about, are some of my favorite bloggers and YouTubers, and I will be sure to link all of their blogs and or YouTube channels down below for you. And these are my favorite vegan food blogs: Sweet Simple Vegan, From My Bowl, Minimalist Baker, and It Doesn't Taste Like Chicken. For YouTubers, it's a little more different. It's vegan recipes, but also like vegan activists, I guess, and people who are kind of doing what I'm doing and helping you on your veganism journey. And these include Shell Bizzle, Get a Mary Johansson, The Sustainable Duo, Hannah McNeely, Ellen Fisher, Ashley Wicca, who's really great for vegan teens, especially if you're living in a house where your whole family is not vegan, The Viet Vegan, and Learn to Love Our Earth. The next thing I'm going to talk about is food, and I'm not going to outline 4 recipes here, but I am going to talk about kind of some alternatives you can use instead of meat in cooking, and also some alternatives you can use in baking. So the first one is jackfruit, and it sounds kind of weird when you're looking up recipes for like pulled barbecue jackfruit. You're like, why would I make barbecued fruit? But jackfruit is very, very versatile. It doesn't have much of a flavor on its own, and it can be used in place of beef, pork, or chicken. We've done all of them, but it's really simple. You just cook it down, you add whatever seasonings and sauces you want, and then you have a meat substitute. The second one is flax seeds, and they are really, really great in baking. When you mix it with a little bit of water, it gets kind of gelatinous, kind of like an egg would. So if you're looking for like gooey brownies, flax seeds are great because they help keep that moisture. But if you're looking to keep kind of the same consistency as eggs or egg whites, you would want to use, it's called aquafaba. It's just a fancy word for literal bean water. Aqua water, faba bean. And you can just simply pour out the liquid from a can of chickpeas and use this as a replacer for eggs or even egg whites. The fourth one is tofu, and this sounds very like cliche and stereotypical for a vegan to be talking about tofu, but it is true. Tofu is just the blank canvas. You do with it what you want. You can season it however you want. You can bake it, you can fry it, you can stir fry it. There are so many ways that you can make and cook tofu to make it delicious to you. So obviously there are some vegan meat replacers out there like sausages and burgers and crumbles, but there are also some whole plant alternatives to meat as well. You can use tempeh and fry it up like bacon. You can ground up lentils into a ground beef type thing, and you can even make your own patties at home out of chickpeas or black beans. So some other substitutes you can use in baking when it comes to butter and eggs is you can use applesauce, bananas, avocado, and pumpkin. Granted, it won't have the same texture as it would as eggs or butter, but it is pretty close. Something crazy that we have done is even breaded and fried broccoli and made it like chicken. So this is more common, I think, with cauliflower, because cauliflower is a little harder than broccoli, but we don't have access to cauliflower here. It is, I mean, we do, but I'm not paying $10 for half of a cauliflower. So we buy broccoli because it is significantly cheaper. You can bread the broccoli and then you can either fry it or bake it, and then you can season it however you want. You can make buffalo wings, barbecue, Korean barbecue, whatever you might want. I talked about this vegan miracle food in my last video, and that is nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is a vegan's best friend, and that's for multiple reasons. One, because it's full of all of your B vitamins, which most people say that vegans lack, but if you have a lot of nutritional yeast in your diet, you will certainly not be lacking in your B vitamins. It's also a vegan's best friend because it is basically vegan Parmesan. You can sprinkle this on top of anything you want: salads, pastas, popcorn, chips, potatoes, whatever you want. But then you can also blend it into sauces and make yourself an Alfredo sauce. The last food alternative I have, which is certainly not the end of the list, this is just what I have and what I can think of, is cashews. Cashews are very versatile and they're pretty flavorless, especially when you blend them and mix them with other stuff. The options are literally limitless as long as you have soaked cashews, a pretty decent high-speed blender. I will admit that is really helpful, and then the rest is up to your imagination. But you might be wondering, how do I even find some of this stuff? So keep in mind that this is all based off of my experience in my grocery store, and it might be different depending on everyone else, but I do think most grocery stores are laid out pretty similarly. If any of these are different from you, I'd love to hear your input so you can share with others and help others locate this stuff in their grocery stores. So alternatives to animal-derived products like plant milk, butter, cream cheese, and that sort of stuff is all in the same section. So what I mean is that almond milk is still next to the dairy milk, plant butter is still next to the dairy butter, plant cream cheese is next to the actual cream cheese, and the list goes on. Jackfruit and coconut milk can be found in the Oriental aisle. I know I didn't mention coconut milk above, but it is also a really great substitute when it comes to using fatty things like heavy whipping cream. Coconut milk is a great option. In our store, the nutritional yeast, we have the Bob's Red Mill brand, so it's next to all the other Bob's Red Mill stuff. All of our tofu except for silken tofu is in like the cold Oriental section next to the ramen and kimchi and stuff like that. But our silken tofu is on a shelf next to the coconut milk and jackfruit area of the Oriental section. We don't have tempeh in our store, but I do think that it would be next to the other plant meats. I don't know, is tempeh kept cold? I would think so. If you have any input about tempeh and where it's located in the store, please let us know. For flax seeds and chia seeds, we also have the Bob's Red Mill brand, but we've also found another brand out in our bulk section. I'll explain more about that in a moment. It might depend for you. It might be out with other nuts and seeds, or it might be in the Bob's Red Mill like health food section. And when I say bulk, I don't mean like the fancy things that you turn and you put your bag or your jar on. Not that kind of bulk. Instead of like bulk as in huge, some of the things we would have out there are like bulk coconut milk and bulk like cans of peanuts. So while we don't have your traditional bulk stores that you might think of in America, we do have bulk section, so we can buy bigger amounts of stuff to reduce a little bit of waste. And lastly is plant-based meats. These are most likely located in your freezer section. For us, they're at the very end of the aisle and they're all together. All of the different brands are all in one section together, so it's easy to find them all. When in doubt, Google will probably be able to help you locate things in your store. I've had to do that before, like where is tomato paste in a grocery store, or where is coconut milk in a grocery store, and it's actually helped. So it might help you as well. Worst comes to worst, ask a store employee to see if they know anything about the products you're looking for. You can even order online if you have to, or check another store. I guess for me, since we only have one American store where they would probably have these things, it's hard for me to go check other stores. But if you have like a Walmart and an H-E-B in your town, you can just go check both. H-E-B is a store in Texas, if you didn't know. I lived there for like 8 months and I don't know any other grocery stores. And of course, if you don't have any of these items, you can learn to work around it. So for example, if I'm looking at a recipe for tempeh, I'll probably just substitute vegan sausage or tofu instead. Okay, we're finally done with all of the tips I have right now for beginner vegans. I hope that you stuck around to the end, and I hope that some of these tips will help you along your journey, no matter what step you're on. Let me know if it was more helpful to hear beginner tips from a beginner herself. I'll probably do this video again next year for Veganuary, just because I will probably learn stuff throughout the next year that I would love to share with you as well. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and of course, share this video if you know people in your life who are new to veganism. And of course, if you have any other tips that I did not mention, feel free to leave them down below for the rest of us. Thanks for watching, and remember that the small changes you make have a big impact in the long run. Bye guys. I say that a lot, but it's very, very rare. Break time. That was just the cutest thing in the world. Okay, we're at the end. This is so long. My help for you as well. Help for you.